Good day everyone, this is your friendly neighborly Quuro with another guide on this week's mutation in StarCraft 2 Co-op. The mutation is called World on Fire and I can tell you, it's pretty tough. I hope that little montage I made can give you an idea of how many times I've played this mutation. One of the reasons I had a pretty hard time getting a victory on Brutal is because my usual partner in crime was unavailable, so I had to team up with random people. As you can see in the chat, I wanted to make sure this person didn't have a problem with me recording the game. This is why I want to give a quick shout out to the person whose name you're seeing on the screen right now, since I believe they did a very good job at playing Carax. Once again, thank you. Now I'm gonna talk a bit about the map, then the commanders, and lastly I'll tackle the free mutators. We're back on Viridia Prime, also known as the Vermilion Problem map. It's the same old one where you have to gather Xenon crystals and bring them to the stabilizer so it can stabilize. As per usual, 2 crystals will spawn in your bases, then 2 outside your bases, then 4 in groups of 2 that are protected outside your bases. From here you can either get a group of 3 to 4 crystals, spawn either on the top middle enemy base or the left middle one. Next, the spawn locations are random, but you already know this, I'm sure. The tricky part of this mutation is trying to do all of this as fast as possible while babysitting the workers and defending from enemy attacks. That's why the optimal way of doing this is by splitting the workload between the 2 partners. And I'm playing Abathur again. To my defense, I haven't had a lot of time to level up the other commanders, and since Abathur was my highest level 1, I said it's best if I go with him, since I've been playing him the most and I feel comfortable doing so. Since I've played this mutation many times, I've also come up with a build specifically for Abathur that I'll leave in the description below, with a disclaimer that in the specific playthrough that you see on screen, I made the mistake of putting down the Roach Den faster than intended, and probably put the workers in the second gas too late. Anyhow, the best situation to pull this off is if your base is the one closer to the top of the map, since you won't need to waste minerals on spawning some defensive roaches, because the first enemy attacks go for the lower base until later in the game. Speaking of commanders, the conclusion which I've come to is that the best combination is having one player focusing on building static defense and babysitting his or her workers, and the other player focus on building an army to roam the map to clean the enemies and helping defend against attacks. This being said, it is my opinion that Carax and Artanis are the best ones to choose for this mutation, for reasons I will detail in just a bit, and I don't mean necessarily in the same team. Going back to Abathur, I believe the best way of dealing with this mutation is by going with a full air comp, mainly Mutalisks and a few Devourers. Going for a ground army is rather tricky to play because of all the nukes and enemy purifier beams, which we'll talk about in just a bit. So here are all the ground comps that I've tried. If you go with the usual Queen and Roach Ravager comp, the Queens get destroyed very easily by the nukes if you make one single mistake because they are so slow and have pretty low HP. Also going for only Queens is not gonna work for the same reasons. I even tried going mass Roaches as well, taking the gases very late to morph in some Ravagers. The advantages in this case is that you build a big army very fast that can move quickly out of the way of the nukes, but I found out that they are not good enough late game even though you get the upgrades for them. And since the enemy AI will always have air units too, it's rather difficult to pull off this comp. Alternatively, I went with an army made of mass Mutalisks with a few Devourers in there, as I've said, but there are a few variations that you can do depending on the race of the enemy armies. If they are either Protoss or Terran, you absolutely need to rush the Sundering Glaive upgrade from the Greater Spire. If you don't recall, it's the upgrade that doubles the damage dealt to armored units. It is extremely good versus this type of army that the AI goes for. If the enemy is Zerg though, it's better to ignore this upgrade and go for more Devourers instead, and take the upgrade that makes their attack do splash damage. Also in this case, you need to be very careful of the parasitic bombs that the enemy Vipers might use on your Mutalisks. Same goes for the Terran Science vessels that can use Irradiate. Needless to say, the regeneration upgrade is absolutely necessary. Since going for mass Mutalisks meant that I was gonna need a lot of Vespene gas, I went for the expansion as fast as possible. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or elephants. specifically the mutators. There are 3 things that will happen at the same time on the map. Missiles will fly all over the map targeting your bases, purifier beams, yes, plural, will roam the map, and nukes will be fired anywhere randomly. Let's talk about each one. Firstly, there will be only one single purifier beam roaming the map. A new one will spawn every 10 in-game minutes. So there will be 2 beams at 20 minutes, 3 beams at 30 minutes, and so on. Luckily, these are always shown on your minimap and they move pretty slowly. These are mainly just annoying, because they can easily kill one of your workers if you're not paying attention. The beams will not go into your main bases, and it's believed that they will not go into the expansions as well, but I can't tell you how many playthroughs I've had where these beams did actually go through the expansions and destroy some much needed static defense, because as well it can damage buildings. The beams tend to follow your army, so there will be times where you might find a beam right over a ramp you're trying to escape through. The most annoying thing is that it will almost always focus on either swarm over the army, making it almost impossible to use it when you really need it. So, to summarize, stay away from the lasers, it moves slowly, and be prepared to lose some buildings because of it. Moving forward, the nukes, as you can see, are telegraphed on the ground, but there is no audio warning, so if you're not babysitting your army, you might lose it. These nukes cannot go inside of your main bases or expansions, but their center can be on the lowest part of the ramps leading to the main bases, making it so they can actually damage something that is too near to the ramps. So try to build a static defense a bit farther in the back. These nukes are one of the reasons I went for an air comp, because it's easier to dodge. The most annoying thing that can happen is if the lava is up, you won't be able to see where the nuke will hit, and you can have a bit of a surprise and lose most of your army. Also, the nukes can come in combos of 3 at a time in a relatively small area, making dodging even more trickier, so be careful. The reason why I said that Artanis is especially good for this week's mutation is that the Guardian Shell passive can save your units from dying, making the nukes less effective overall. Now, lastly but definitely not least, the missiles. These are by far the most annoying thing you have to deal with in this mutation. And it's a new mutator. Imagine what other cool plans Blizzard might have in store for us. So these things can target only buildings and tumors, even though they are hidden. As you can see in this playthrough, I started using Abathur's tumors more as decoys for these missiles instead of relying on them for damage. And yes, Vorazun's Dark Pylon can be targeted as well. The missiles come in 3 forms, and all of these can be destroyed. The first one, and the most basic, does around 100 damage. The second one is medium sized, and upon being destroyed it will damage something anyway. This is why you always need somebody that is ready to replace destroyed static defense. Also, this one is accompanied by a point defense drone. And lastly, the biggest one of them all is a nuke with 5-point defense drones. These things do really pack a punch. A good thing is that you have a sort of audio warning in the form of a nuclear calm down when the nuke is close to its target. Also, the missiles all appear on the minimap no matter their size, and the nuke missiles have a bigger warning sign. Carax is very good against these because of the Cadarian monoliths that cannot be negated by the point defense drones and can easily target down the nukes. I've also tried to search for a way to transport workers carrying crystals back to base more quickly, but as I found out, there is no such way. Workers carrying xenon crystals would not load into the Nidus Swarm, and you can't recall them using Vorazun's Dark Pylons. Though, I've read about a way to cheese this mutation as Vorazun, but I'm not gonna detail that here since that is somebody else's discovery. Although, I'm gonna leave a link to a Reddit post where you can check the comments for more info on the strategy. Anyway, this is all I have to tell you about this week's mutation, and I'm gonna let you finish watching the gameplay.
Our seismologist believes the coming lava surge is reaching the mantle. Terry, this is boring science stuff. I'm reading this. Here's the lava. Watch Watch the low ground, viewers. That's where the action is.
Men available.
It looks like the salamander has resurfaced. If the commanders are going to do something, now just might be the time. Air units caught within a deadly lava spout. I can't see the damage, but if I were to guess, total devastation. As quickly as it surges, the lava recedes. Now it's up to the workers to reach those new crystal formations in time. UNN seismologist Terry estimates the planet has 4 minutes remaining. Let's see if you're right, Terry. This is Donnie Vermillion reporting that the stabilizer has reached 50%. Workers are moving as fast as they can. Salamander resurfaces. Will the Dominion's allies intervene, or leave this creature unchecked? The lava has receded once more, leaving both crystals and destruction in its wake.
Swarm.
The telltale rumbling has begun. I expect we'll be seeing a lava surge soon, and a big one. Beyond all belief, the stabilizer is nearly charged. Can they make it? I'll be here to find out. I'm getting a report that the lava is surging right now. Let's switch to Lava Cam 6. The salamander has resurfaced. I normally don't editorialize, but that thing looks angry. It looks like that surge is finally over with. Let's watch the commanders get back to work.
Our allies are in combat. Our forces are under attack. Completed. We require more Vespene gas. Our allies are in combat. Not enough Vespene. Evolution complete. Our allies are in combat. More Vespene is now ready. We require more Vespene gas. Our forces have met the enemy in combat.
Regeneration commencing.
Our allies are in combat.
A total seismic activity rocks the surface of Viridia Prime. The lava won't be too far behind. Another lava surge has come. We'll have more after this short message from our sponsor.
Our forces are under attack.
Flames spread as the molten salamander resurfaces. Will the Dominion's allies intervene, or leave this creature unchecked?
Men, our allies are
Looks like the lava has fully receded. Can the commander's workers make up for the lost time?
Our allies' base is threatened. Our allies' base is threatened.
Surge regeneration.
Not enough
In
Vespene.
progress.
this finally be the big one?
Moon is now
Another lava surge is here. of the low ground had better be underway. The Dominion's allies are victorious, but was plundering Viridia's natural resources worth it?